The topic for today is called as vendor master. It's related to this purchase to pay cycle. Whenever any company code or business buys any material from the supplier, which is nothing but a vendor, before we initiate this buying process, your vendor's record needs to be maintained in SAP system. Maintenance of vendor's information, vendor's record is called as vendor master or vendor master data. And the topic for today is vendor master. Here we do configuration for vendor master, and then we do user part of vendor master. In configuration of vendor master, we got to do three things. We create vendor account group. We create number range for our vendor account group. And we do assignment of group to the number range. Now what this group basically is, in our business, we may have multiple hundreds and thousands of suppliers. We try to group similar nature of suppliers. Grouping of similar nature of suppliers is very important. So what we do is we create groups, and all similar nature of suppliers we add in their respective groups. Like for example, I create one US suppliers group, US00. And then any supplier I have from US who supplies something to me, to my business, I add all these US suppliers in this group. Then I have, say, local suppliers group with the code, let's say, LS00. Any local or Canadian supplier which I have who supplies something to me, I will add in this group. Then I have Chinese suppliers, CS00. Any supplier I have from China or suppliers I have from China supplying something to my business, I will add these suppliers in this group. These are called as vendor account group, which we are going to create. Second step is creating number range for the groups. Number range means we will do something like this. We create one number range interval for this group. Let's say number range can be 101 to 200. Whenever in this group I'm going to create any supplier, or I'm going to create supplier's account, vendor account, vendor will be created with the number. Like the way we have bank account number, we have here vendor account number. So vendor will be created with a number, but which number? System will not use any random number from somewhere. System will use the number from the number range this, which we will create for this group. So suppose in this group, I create one vendor, let's say Walmart. So when I create this vendor master, system will automatically assign number 101. Any other vendor which is going to be included in the group will be vendor number 102. Like this, all US suppliers which I add in the group will be assigned a number from this number range. Similarly, for each group, I can create different number ranges like any local suppliers I have in the group. Suppose I create this group, sorry, this vendor. So this vendor will have number 103, right? Right?
203, right?
Okay, my mistake. Let's say
201.
203. Right? I think someone is saying
201.
something.
I mean, start with 1, sorry.
Yes, yes. So as we discussed, number range will be group specific. Will be means can be group specific. So if this number range is assigned to this group, in this group, vendors which I'm going to create will be assigned numbers from this series. But if for this group I have another number range like this one, and then when I create any supplier in this group, number will be used from this range. And system will use the number which is available first. Not any system basically will follow the sequence of the range. So this will be number 1. All right. This way, we create vendor account group, then we create number range, and then we assign number range to the group, assign number range to the group. And these are the 3 steps we'll try to do now. Let's log into the system. Let's try to do it. Let's log into the system. So I log into the system, I get my initial screen called as SAP Easy Access screen. I go to SPRO screen, click on reference IMG. I see my display IMG screen. So the enterprise structure topic is done yesterday. Now we are doing another topic, vendor master, which is usually done by finance team. So we go to financial accounting new. You see this folder, financial accounting new. Click on this financial accounting new. And then you go to accounts receivable, accounts payable, this folder. And here you have vendor master. You open this. Then you have master data, which is vendor master data. Open this. And now you go to preparations. And we have define vendor account group. This one. Then for the group, we create number range. And just below this, we assign number range to all. So click on this execute button to create vendor account group. New entries to create new group. Suppose my vendor account group is going to create. Suppose
Sorry, can you go back just one step, Gaurav?
Go back one. Go back one.
Which one did you choose? So
first one, define account group with screen layout. First one.
Okay.
All of these screenshots you will be getting. So there is user number 10 log. So there is user number 10 is using this screen. Anyone has any idea why we got this message? Data is logged by the user. Did we discuss?
Somebody already logged in using their interface.
Correct. At one point of time for configuration on few screens, not all the screens, one person can access that screen at one point of time. So if I'm trying to use this screen, if I'm trying to access this screen like this, system initially gave me that message that the data, that the user is logged in. I mean, using that screen. So I have to wait for some time and then I can log in this, I can access the screen this way. But if in case you keep on waiting and the user is not coming out, being around say 5 minutes or more, then you can use another screen transaction code called as SM12, SM12, and you can kick the user out forcefully. How to use SM12? Anyone, when you have any error of this, like, accessing the screen, you let me know. I will share the link with you and you can see how it's done. Or throughout, like when we are doing practice, if you get any error, you let me know. I will try to help you. Right. So we come to the screen, new vendor account group, click on new entries. I want to create, let's say, this one. Local suppliers group, LS00. But instead of LS00, I want to give the code, let's say, VD01. Okay. So let's create a group with the code VD01. Give the name, description of your group, VD01, local suppliers group. Press enter to validate. And if I click on save button, my vendor group VD01 will be created. So what are we doing? We are doing vendor group. So when I click on save, my vendor group will be created. But what I see, I have something called as field status as well. On the same screen, I have something called as field status. Now what this field status is? So in materials management, we will see this term very frequently, field status, which is also called as field selection, also called as field reference, also called as screen layout. Throughout the training, we'll be using either of these terms on different screens. Field status, field selection, field reference, or screen layout, but everything is same. So when we are creating vendor account group, we say this field status section. What it means is that in this group, local suppliers group, when I'm going to add my vendor, create my vendor, suppose in this group, when I'm going to create this vendor master, when I'm going to create vendor, system will ask me different kind of information, like name of the vendor, phone number of the vendor, email, their banking account information, their tax information, like that. Hundreds and hundreds type of different fields system will ask me. So this information is categorized in 3 sections. General, which you see here. General, company code, and purchase. General means any general information of the vendor, like name, phone number, email, address. Company code means accounting information of the vendor. Accounting means bank information, tax information of the supplier, and many more as well. Purchasing means procurement information, terms of payment and currency and blah, 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 and many other things as well. So when I'm going to create any vendor in this vendor account group, when I'm going to create vendor, I need to maintain information for these 3 categories. But in each of the category, system will have hundreds of things to ask. And we fill the information depending on what we want to fill, which is important for us. So through field status, we can decide which information is important, which information means fields. Which field is important, we want to make it required. Which field is completely irrelevant for the vendor, we hide that field, which should be kept as optional. So we can decide the field status for our vendors on the screen. And the status of our vendors fields can be set to what we want, like required field, optional field, display field, completely hide, which is suppressed. So let's see. Double click on general data. We see these options. In each of the option system will have multiple fields. Say I double click on address and I get so many fields. This is one field, one field, one field, one field, one field, one field, and so many fields. So when I'm going to create my vendor, I can maintain fields like these. But obviously, this much will be not important always. So depending on what field is required, important for me, I make this field as required information. Something is not at all important, I make it as hide, suppress. Something is okay if you have this, put it, otherwise you can skip it, optional. Or if I want to make something as display, I click on this, radio button. These are called as radio buttons. Depending on what status we want for our fields, we choose the options here. I'm not making any changes for now here, so I go back. And there is something else, company code data. Double click, then you go to account management. For my vendor in this account group, VD01, I can maintain these kind of information as well, which is finance information. But here, there is one thing which is very important from finance side called as a reconciliation account, which must be maintained. Because it's going to be maintained, because it's important, we make it required. In short, for now, reconciliation account means it will be used for the reporting of our vendors. Like for my vendors, when I'm going to create reports, a reconciliation account will be needed. It's a bigger topic for financial guys, but because we are not doing finance, it's not so important for now for us. So briefly, any transaction we do for our vendors, you're paying some money to your supplier. Kind of these transactions when we do, these transactions will be recorded in your books. Books means software system, let's say for now, through reconciliation. Or briefly, reports will be done for our vendors through this reconciliation. I go to my purchasing data. In purchasing, you have these many fields. Any of these which we feel is important, like let's say purchase order currency, I must add currency for my purchase order, or I should have my payment terms as well. I can make this required. Once this field status in this group is done, I click on this save button and my vendor account group VD01 is created. So step number 1, creating vendor account group is done.